We all know the story of Nuh alayhi salam. But do we ever think about his legacy and how we can emulate him? How we can be like him? Instead of thinking to yourself, oh, I have to live and give da'wah for 950 years and then build a boat. No. Think about the theme, the concept. It starts with the love of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, which results in a deep concern for humanity. And this leads to a serious analysis of the problems in the people around you. Then you decide you have to call them to the truth. And after years of persistent struggle, and when you feel overwhelmed, like you don't know how to save everyone, you don't know how to get through to them and penetrate their hardened hearts, you beg Allah Ta'ala for guidance. And subhanAllah, Allah Ta'ala, based on your sincerity, Allah Ta'ala will respond by showing you your purpose, your contribution, your calling in life. And then you will work diligently on that project, tirelessly on that project for years, never quitting, even if you don't initially see any benefit to it. And even if others are mocking you. I mean, imagine, subhanAllah, 950 years of da'wah, and that wasn't even his primary contribution. All that da'wah and few people listened to him. So Allah Ta'ala said to him, you need to build the boat. That's your contribution. That's how you're going to save humanity. A boat on land? What's the point? They're mocking me every single day. وَيَصْنَعُ الْفُلْكِ وَكُلَّمَا مَرَّ عَلَيْهِمْ مَلَأٌ مِّنْ قَوْمِهِ سَخِرُوا مِنْهُ. And he constructed the ship, and whenever an assembly of the eminent ones of his people passed him by, they would ridicule him. There's no water around here. Nobody's listening to me. There doesn't seem to be a point. All they do is mock me. And then yet, one day, subhanAllah, because of your sincerity, because of your effort, because you begged Allah Ta'ala to guide your behavior, then when the rain comes, you could say literally or figuratively, when the rain comes, not only will your contribution benefit, but it'll be your effort that saves humanity. This is the legacy of Ibrahim alayhi salam. This is the legacy of Nuh alayhi salam. This is what we see when we pay attention to the life of Nuh alayhi salam. That, simply put, there are two kinds of Muslims. Those who are sincere and enthusiastic and want to get to work. They want to see benefit in their society, in the ummah, in the world at large. They want to do good. They want to be involved. And those who are involved in this community, you know who you are. And then there are those who, unfortunately, they claim Islam, but they have hypocrisy, nifaq, in their hearts. And they always seem to have excuses. I really wanted to be involved, but I just missed the opportunity. I really wanted to be involved, but I missed the opportunity. And this statement will be repeated. And subhanAllah, they'll be saying the same thing in death as they were saying in life. When the angel of death comes to take them, I really wanted to be involved. I missed the opportunity. Can you send me back? If that's the way you live your life, then that is the way you're going to die. May Allah Ta'ala protect us from hypocrisy. Ameen. In fact, we see this, and Allah Ta'ala calls it out. When the Prophet ﷺ would go on various ghazawat, would go to battle, and then when the believers would come back from that battle, the hypocrites would always be ready in Medina with excuses, asking for forgiveness, swearing that they didn't have an opportunity. As Allah Ta'ala says, سَيَحْلِفُونَ بِاللَّهِ لَكُمْ إِذَا انْقَلَبْتُمْ إِلَيْهِمْ لِتُعْرِضُوا عَنْهُمْ فَأَعْرِضُوا عَنْهُمْ. Subhanallah. إِنَّهُمْ رِجْسٌ وَمَأْوَاهُمْ جَهَنَّمُ جَزَاءً بِمَا كَانُوا يَكْسِبُونَ. They will swear by Allah, they're going to make these great oaths to you, that when you return to them, so that you'd leave them alone. I swear I was busy, I swear I tried my best, I wanted to, I really did. And they keep having excuse after excuse after excuse. Why? Just so that you would leave them alone. فَأَعْرِضُوا عَنْهُمْ. So leave them alone. That's exactly Allah Ta'ala's response. Allah's command. Stop chasing these people. And then Allah Ta'ala tells us what? So leave them alone. Indeed, they are evil, and their refuge is hell as a recompense for what they had earned. Next ayah. يحلفون لكم لترضوا عنهم فإن ترضوا عنهم فإن الله لا يرضى عن القوم الفاسقين. Allah Ta'ala very plainly says that they are swearing and making all these oaths. I really have so many excuses. I wanted to help and contribute and be part of this ummah and be part of this community. I wanted to contribute, but I have all sorts of reasons. I swear, wallahi, tallahi, billahi, whatever they swear. Wa rabbil Kaaba, etc. And Allah says, they swear to you so that you might be satisfied with them. I just don't want this person to be mad at me. And Allah Ta'ala says so perfectly, so beautifully, but if you should be satisfied with them, indeed, Allah is not satisfied with a defiantly disobedient people. So what difference does it make? Who cares? Oh, I convinced the Imam, I convinced this person, that group. They asked me, please participate, please get involved, please help out. And I didn't, but I gave them lots of excuses and they were like, okay, brother, I understand. Whew, now I'm good. Okay, you fooled them, so what? You can't fool Allah. You haven't fixed anything. Allah Ta'ala still sees your behavior. If He still sees fisq and transgression and evil, Allah Ta'ala is fully aware. You're not fooling anybody. What difference does it make if you can convince someone, I was really busy, you have no idea my exams. Okay, good. Okay, brother, you had exams, I'll leave you alone. And so will the next person and the next Imam and the next person and so forth. What good is it to convince me or anybody else? It means nothing. The question is, are you convincing Allah Ta'ala? To make this even simpler, I want you to remember that every single human being has to pick from one of two camps. Camp of Adam alayhi salam versus Iblis. These are the two sides that you have to choose from. What do I mean by this? That if you're on team Adam alayhi salam, what does that mean? It means you don't talk about yourself much. You don't talk about your greatness a whole lot. You're not focused on letting everybody know how awesome you are. No, you just keep your head down. And you stay humble. And you stay focused on self-improvement. And most importantly, you let other people recognize your prominence. Let me say that again. Most importantly, you let other people recognize your prominence. You let other people recognize, you know that person's helping us, that brother did this, did you know that sister did that? I don't need to tell you. I don't need to promote myself. The work speaks for itself. Adam alayhi salam, we know, he made a mistake. He sinned. And what happened? He repented, he learned, he improved. His focus was on self-improvement. And so Allah Ta'ala is the one who told all the angels, you have to bow down to him. Now think about it. Was Adam alayhi salam telling the angels, you know guys, I repented. You really should all bow down to me. I'm really on this self-improvement track. You know, I've been really improving myself. I'm getting a lot better these days. I just want to let everybody know how awesome I am. No interest whatsoever from Adam alayhi salam to promote himself, to talk about himself. He's just learning from his mistakes and getting better in silence. Quietly improving. Does he have to promote himself? Of course not, because Allah Ta'ala is the one who recognizes him and makes everybody recognize him as well. That's one camp. What's the flip side? Team Iblis. Talk about how amazing you are. Tell everybody how accomplished you are, how wonderful you are. Why? Well, because nobody else will. Nobody else is talking about how awesome you are. So apparently they're all blind to it. Apparently they're missing it. Apparently they don't see my amazing contribution. I need to scream it from the rooftops. Nobody else is convinced. That's their problem. They must be blind. They don't see just how wonderful I truly am. They don't know what they're missing. So I need to explain it to them. Many people have this quality. And Iblis was the most extreme example of this. Why? Because he thought he could teach Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala himself. He thought he could tell Allah ta'ala about his superior nature, as if he's informing Allah Ta'ala about something unknown. قَالَ مَا مَنَعَكَ أَلَّا تَسْجُدَ إِذْ أَمَرْتُكَ قَالَ أَنَا خَيْرٌ مِنْهُ. Oh, good news. Good thing you told me. Right? Wow. أَنَا خَيْرٌ مِنْهُ خَلَقْتَنِي مِنْ نَارٍ وَخَلَقْتَهُ مِنْ طِينٍ. Oh, that's why. You just broke it down for me. Now it's clear. A'udhu billah. What is this ridiculous notion that he has? This idea that he's clarifying to Allah. When Allah asked him, what prevented you from prostrating when I commanded you? He says, I'm better than him. Are you teaching Allah Ta'ala something? Oh, let me break it down so you understand in simple terms. You created me from fire and you created him from clay. Oh, now it's clear. A'udhu billah. Unbelievable, the level of arrogance. But this is displayed within us. This isn't something that happened so long ago that we can't relate to. This is something that is replaying and reliving in our day-to-day lives. Every single human being is going to fall into one of these two camps. Either on the side of Adam alayhi salam, working diligently on self-improvement, getting recognition from others, not because he's promoting himself, but because everybody sees the work. Or nobody sees the work. Nobody recognizes anything. Why? Because it's not there. So I need to work hard to tell everybody, you know I'm really good, right? You know I'm really awesome, right? Okay, I guess so. It seems you're the only one talking about it. Never heard anybody else say anything. They don't see it. And so as I mentioned, we know about Nuh alayhi salam, not because of how much he talked about himself, but because of his actual effort. And this is consistent with all of the Anbiya. When I say the name Shu'aib alayhi salam, immediately your mind thinks of the struggle against what? Financial fraud. It's very difficult to think about the name Shu'aib alayhi salam. If you go through the Quran, multiple times Allah Ta'ala is associating his name with a particular struggle. That was his goal. That was his mission in life. That was his calling. Yes, of course, give da'wah, call to Allah, get rid of the shirk of his people, but then even more specifically, something extra, which is what? Financial fraud. If I say the name Lut alayhi salam, immediately everybody knows the struggle against what? Sexual deviance and sexual immorality. You can't even say the name Lut alayhi salam without immediately thinking of that. Same thing with Musa alayhi salam, the struggle of freeing the oppressed, the captives, and the slaves. You immediately associate. So the question we all have to ask ourselves is this: do we actually want to follow the prophetic model? And if the answer is, of course I do. I want to be upon the prophetic model. Well, if you don't connect your name, your personality, your life goal, your legacy with a particular struggle, then I regret to inform you that you're not following the prophetic model. You are supposed to work so diligently that you connect your name. Your name becomes synonymous with your effort. That is the prophetic model. We see it from the Quran. You cannot hardly think of these particular Anbiya without knowing what their effort was. And again, this association doesn't happen through self-promotion. It wasn't because they were going around. Musa alayhi salam wasn't telling everybody, hey, by the way, I'm the guy that's going to free people. It was not like that. It's not about self-promotion. It's about getting the job done. Perhaps some of you have heard the expression, if you want to look at it from the Western lens, in the English language, work hard in silence, let success make the noise. Very nice quote. Work hard in silence, let success make the noise. Or another expression similar, build in silence, let your results do the talking. Build in silence, let your results do the talking. And if we go back to our deen and our tradition, we should know that the Prophet ﷺ said pretty much the exact same words, subhanAllah. Way before all these fancy quotes, the Prophet ﷺ tells us what? استعينوا على قضاء حوائجكم بالكتمان فإن كل ذي نعمة محسود. That seek help in the fulfillment of your needs in silence. Hustle, work hard. Don't promote yourself. Don't tell everybody what your plans are. I mean, unless of course you need a team building, that's different. But the idea is that don't go around promoting yourself. You have a certain objective, a certain goal, bil kitman, do it in silence. Why? Because everyone who is blessed is envied. You don't need to go around telling everybody. Just let the results speak for themselves. So we look at the Western tradition, we look at the Muslim world, we can go all the way to the East. There's a really nice quote, mashallah, from Sun Tzu in the book The Art of War. If you want a little bit more of an artistic flavor, he says, let your plans be dark and impenetrable as night, and when you move, fall like a thunderbolt. Mashallah, it's a good quote. Let your plans be dark and impenetrable as night, and when you move, fall like a thunderbolt. Work in silence, get the job done. Let your work speak for itself. This is how the believer operates. If you want to talk about anything, if you want to open up a discussion, it's not about how great you are, rather it's about how you can be greater. I want us to analyze for a second a forgotten tradition. Let's pay close attention to the words of the Sahaba radiallahu anhum. When you read enough ahadith, you start to notice certain patterns, certain habits amongst the Sahaba. Some habits that unfortunately you don't find common today. For instance, you find that the Sahaba were consistently and persistently asking, how can I be the best? What's the best thing I can do? What is the most beloved thing to Allah? How can I improve? Unfortunately, what you find in most people is they're always asking, what's the bare minimum? What's the least I can do that I'm not in sin? What's the least I can do that as long as it's halal? What's the bare minimum? This is the unfortunate attitude, and we all know this from school. There's some people aiming for 100. If they get 99, they're frustrated. And there are some people that are aiming for 60%. And if they get 59, they're upset. They just wanted that 60, just to barely pass. So which camp do you fall in? Take a look at so many of these ahadith. Abdullah bin Amr, he said, أَنَّ رَجُلًا سَأَلَ رَسُولَ اللَّهِ صَلَّى اللَّهِ وسلم, أَيُّ الْإِسْلَامِ خَيْرٍ? A person asked the Messenger of Allah صلى الله عليه وسلم, what type of Islam is the best? I want to know how I can be the best. This is the type of attitude we want to develop within ourselves. We want to cultivate this attitude. How can I aim even higher? عُلُوُّ الْهِمَّةِ. And the Prophet responded, تطعم الطعام وتقرأ السلام على من عرفت ومن لم تعرف. That you feed people and you greet people, those who you know and those who you don't know. And what's interesting is that many of these ahadith, they offer different answers. Why? Because the Prophet ﷺ is speaking in context to the person that he's talking to. So he's saying, this is what you need. This is the best thing that you can do. Furthermore, the Prophet ﷺ is being asked, سُئِلَ النَّبِي صلى الله عليه وسلم أَيُّ الْأَعْمَالِ أَفْضَلِ. Different wording. The first one was what? أَيُّ الْإِسْلَامِ خَيْرِ. The second one is أَيُّ الْأَعْمَالِ أَفْضَلِ. Same question but different wording. The Prophet ﷺ is asked, which are the best of deeds? And his response is, إِيمَانُ بِاللَّهِ وَرَسُولِهِ وَقِيلْ ثُمَّ مَاذَا. Amazing. Then they ask, okay fine, faith in Allah and His Messenger, what's next? It's not enough to get one answer. How do I be the best? Do this. Okay, what next? I want to even be better. ثُمَّ مَاذَا. Then what? What comes after that? Jihadun fi sabilillah. Then you have to go fight as a warrior in the path of Allah. ثُمَّ مَاذَا. Then what? قَالَ حَجٌّ مَبْرُورٌ. Accepted Hajj. In another hadith, سألت النبي صلى الله عليه وسلم أي العمل أحب إلى الله. Which deed is most beloved to Allah? Are you guys seeing the pattern? They word it in different ways, but the question is always similar. I'm aiming higher. I want self-improvement. I just want to know, how can I be the best? And his response is what? As-salatu ala waqtiha. Prayer in its appropriate time. ثُمَّ أَيْ. Then what? I still want to be better. ثُمَّ أَيْ. Then what? قال ثُمَّ بِرُّ الْوَالِدَيْنِ. Then be good to your parents. ثُمَّ أَيْ. Then what after that? قال الجهاد في سبيل الله. That you have to fight and give your life and fight for Allah's sake. وقال Abdullah Mas'ud, he continues, says, حدثني بهن ولو استزدت لزادني. He says, I asked those three, but if I kept going, I think he would have kept going. I just thought, three is enough. I'll work on that, subhanAllah. So this is the mentality we need to develop. Instead of asking, what is the least I can do? Ask yourself, how can I be the most involved? How can I be the best? And how can I keep on getting better? Inshallah, we'll continue in the second khutbah. Wa sallallahu ala Muhammad wa ala alihi wa sahbihi wa sallam kathira. Bismillah walhamdulillah wa salatu wa salam ala rasulillah. If you don't get anything from this khutbah, inshallah ta'ala, I hope you remember this last final hadith, which I think is truly remarkable. This is a hadith found in Sahih Muslim, authentic hadith, in which Ali ibn Abi Talib anhu, he's getting some advice from the Prophet ﷺ. The Prophet ﷺ tells him, قُلْ اللَّهُمَّ اهْدِنِي وَسَدِّدْنِي. Say, make this dua. It's just 3 words. Allahumma ihdini wasaddidni. Oh Allah, guide me and direct me. Guide me and direct me. It's a pretty bad translation. Don't worry, we'll expand. But then the Prophet ﷺ goes on and explains this dua itself. The Prophet ﷺ goes on to explain, when you're making this very simple, very short dua, I want you to have a particular mentality. The Prophet ﷺ says what? وَاذْكُرْ بِالْهُدَى هِدَايَتَكَ الطَّرِيقِ وَالسَّدَادِ سَدَادِ السَّهْمِ. The Prophet says, and when you mention guidance, when you actually make this dua and you're asking for guidance, when you're mentioning guidance, remember guidance on the path. And when you mention determination, think of the determination of an arrow. Subhanallah. In my opinion, this is an incredible example of the gift of Jawami' al-Kalim. The Prophet says that I was blessed with, Jawami' al-Kalim means comprehensive speech. A few words, lots of meaning. There's a lot of depth here. First and foremost, the dua is extremely short. Allahumma hdini wa saddidni. Very, very simple. Allahumma hdini wa saddidni. Very, very simple dua. Now, the Prophet is telling him, make this dua, supplicate like this. It has 2 requests. Oh Allah, guide me, implying, I want to understand the difference between right and wrong on a theoretical basis. I need to know the difference between right and wrong. So no action is mentioned yet, just comprehension, primarily. Then, saddidni implies what? Now, actually help me on the path to adhere to this path. Let me stick to it. Now that I understand it, now that I mentally get the point of what is right and what is wrong, I need to physically walk that path. Saddidni. Keep me strong, sticking to that path. Asking for determination, integrity, al-istiqama. Or you could say a successful outcome, at-tawfiq. Whatever term you want, this is what he's asking for. Let me stick to that path. And then the Prophet ﷺ explains, when you're making this dua, this is how you need to think. SubhanAllah, amazing. He elaborates and says what? Well, the reason why he's elaborating on how to think is because unfortunately, far too many of us, when we make dua as a habit. You memorize a dua and you just say it mindlessly. And so the objective here is to say, no, I need you to pay attention and offer sincerity, consideration, and thought. So how should you think? And the answer is simple. When you mention guidance, think of guidance on the path. Meaning what? Don't just think of this nice, warm, fluffy, fuzzy feeling you call guidance that covers you like a blanket and that puts you to sleep. I want guidance. Oh, yeah, guidance. I want it to just rain down upon me so I can just pass out and relax and oh, it feels so warm and cuddly that I have this guidance upon me. No, the Prophet specifically says when you think of this guidance, remember you're talking about guidance on a path, implying what? You have a destination and there is motion involved. And so you have to remember that the moment you have this guidance, the moment you're asking for it, you're saying, Ya Rab, I want to move. I want to go. You're thinking about your day and how you're going to arrange your schedule. You're thinking about what you're going to do right after this Jum'ah. Where are you going to go? And you're making dua, Ya Allah, guide me, guide me so that every step I take as I leave this place, I'm going very clearly. I know right from wrong. I know what's a waste of my time, what's a distraction versus what is important. And then the Prophet says, and when you mention this determination, as-sadad, this determination, this firmness, this resolve, remember the resolve or the determination of an arrow. What a beautiful analogy. Why? Because it's so simple and yet so clear. In other words, when somebody shoots an arrow, brothers and sisters, very simple question. Does the arrow ever take detours? Oh, does it ever get distracted? Does an arrow ever go sightseeing? Does an arrow as it shoots away, does it ever take a break? You know, shooting in a forest, does it say, ooh, look at that deer over there. I just want to pause and look at that one. Oh, look, there's a creek. I just got to look over there. And oh, the sky is so beautiful. And I think I'm going to take a rest for a second. And now I'm going to hit my target. No. We all understand very clearly that it's very single-minded and direct and clear and straightforward. Completely undistracted. The arrow just goes right for the target. So the Prophet is saying, make this dua that you have this determination and this steadfastness. And when you do, I need you to be sincere. I need you to be thinking about the arrow that moves without being distracted whatsoever. You go right toward your goal. As a practical example, we're going to do our salah in a second, inshallah. So when you rise for salah, you should have khushu', sincerity, devotion, and a sense of awe and reverence for Allah Ta'ala, because you are fully committed and engaged in what you are doing. You want to hit that target of salah here and now, not distracted by anything else. And after salah, usually there's some socializing. MashaAllah, it's beautiful. Are you making a list in your mind after you finish the salah? Oh, there's that brother I should thank. I got to thank that guy. He actually did me a favor. So I got to find him. Where is he? Aha, brother, I just want to say thank you for that thing that you did. Why? Because the believer is grateful. Like a target, you found him. And then next, I got to congratulate that brother. He had some good news, and we know that the believer is encouraging. He encourages people. So I got to do that too. Find the next guy and say some kind words to him as well. And then I have a question for that brother. Why? Because the believer is always engaged in seeking knowledge and learning. And then I have to go to that brother. I got to give him some advice. Why? Because the believer gives sincere nasiha and good advice. That's what the believer should do. Oh, and then after that I have an appointment. I can't be late because the believer fulfills his appointments and does not break his trusts, does not break his promises. While other people might be wandering around, just socializing, which is fine, mashallah, catching up with others, perhaps you're the type of person who is on guidance, who is straight as an arrow, being grateful, encouraging, learning, advising, being trustworthy. All of these qualities you have because you want to apply this dua. You want to think about this dua as you say it. Allahumma hdini wa saddidni. Ameen ya Rabbil Alameen. Final point in conclusion, inshallah ta'ala. I want to remind everybody that you have to pick your struggle. Just like all these anbiya, they picked their struggle. And they worked on it without advertising and promoting themselves. They just worked hard on it. And alhamdulillah, thumma alhamdulillah, we have a large community and we have a lot of people working on a lot of different projects. We have people who show up every week for tafsir classes, and others who show up for usul al-fiqh classes. We have brothers and sisters who engage in basketball. There are soccer games, there is cricket, there's taekwondo, there's jiu-jitsu, there is hibs classes, there's tajweed classes. There are people who organize camps for the youth. There are special needs programs. We have, alhamdulillah, Sisters Quran Club. We have the food pantry for those who want to get involved in helping and feeding those in need. We have open house. A large group of brothers and sisters are working on this open house to give da'wah and call our neighbors to Islam. We have interfaith. Every month, either we're going to a certain house of worship or they're coming to us. We're always engaging and giving da'wah and promoting and teaching what is Islam all about and who are the believers. Alhamdulillah, we have convert dinners, both organized for the brothers and the sisters every month. I think some for the sisters even, twice a month. Allah alam. But my point is that there are so many of these programs. There's so much going on. Do you really want to be the person who over and over again says, I really wanted to, I just missed out? SubhanAllah, life comes and goes. How much are you going to miss? How much opportunity are you going to take? So Ya Allah, help us to find our calling. Ya Rab, help us to find our purpose. Ya Allah, help us to find our struggle so that we can benefit our community. Ya Rab, make us persistent and consistent and determined. Allahumma hdina wa saddidna. Ya Rab, oh Allah, give us guidance and make us focused and determined and keep us on that path. Ya Allah, help us to be focused on self-improvement instead of self-promotion. Ya Allah, help us to be like Adam alayhi salam instead of like Iblis. Ameen ya Rabbil Alameen. Allahumma hdina fi man hadayt, wa aafina fi man aafayt, wa tawallana fi man tawallayt, wa barik lana fi ma a'tayt, wa qina sharra ma qadayt, fa innaka taqdi wa la yuqda alayk, innahu la yadhillu man walayt, wa la ya'izzu man adayt, barakta rabbana wa ta'alayt, rabbana atina fi dunya hasana, wa fil akhirati hasana, wa qina adhab an-nar, wa sallallahu alayhi wa sallam Muhammad, wa ala alihi wa sahbihi wa sallam tasliman kathira, wa aqim as-salah.